Danielle woke up early that Monday morning, eager for her first day of work at the Almeida mansion. At 20 years old, the young woman with brown hair and green eyes lived alone in a small apartment on the outskirts of the city. Upon arriving at the impressive residence, Danielle was amazed by the beauty of the place. The well-kept extensive garden, with colourful flowers and leafy trees, framed the three-storey colonial-style house. She took a deep breath, adjusted the simple uniform she was wearing, and rang the doorbell. She was greeted by Cindy, the lady of the house, an elegant woman in her 50s, with a proud bearing and a sophisticated air. Despite her imposing appearance, Cindy welcomed her with a warm smile. "Welcome, Danielle. I hope you feel comfortable here. Come, let me show you the house and introduce you to the other staff members." As they walked through the spacious and richly decorated rooms, Cindy was explaining the tasks and the household routine. Danielle listened attentively, impressed by her employer's kindness and manners. She soon met the other employees, the butler, the gardener, the cook, all very friendly and welcoming. In the following weeks, Danielle adapted well to the job. Cindy was a fair and understanding boss, always praising her dedication. The atmosphere in the mansion was calm and pleasant, which made the young woman happy and grateful for the opportunity. One morning, Cindy gathered all the employees in the main living room. Her expression was a little tense when she announced, "I want to inform you that my mother, Annabeth, will be moving in with us starting tomorrow. She is already of advanced age and has recently been experiencing some memory problems. Sometimes she gets confused, mixes up names and people. The doctors are still investigating, but everything points to some kind of early dementia." Cindy paused, looking at each of those present before continuing. "I ask for everyone's understanding and patience. My mother has always been a sweet and kind person, but this condition sometimes makes her agitated or disoriented. If you notice any problems, please call me immediately." The staff nodded, expressing solidarity. Danielle felt a pang in her heart, remembering her own grandmother who also struggled with some health problems in recent years. The next day, a luxurious limousine parked in front of the mansion. Cindy hurried out to greet her mother, followed by the staff. A grey-haired lady with an elegant demeanour got out of the car, looking around with a somewhat lost expression. Cindy hugged her affectionately. "Welcome, Mum. Let's go inside. I'm sure you'll love your new home." Annabeth smiled timidly as she was led inside. Cindy introduced each staff member until they reached the kitchen where Danielle was. Upon seeing the young woman, Annabeth's eyes lit up. Tears welled up as she hugged Danielle tightly. "Oh, my dear Danny, I can't believe you're here. Look at you, still such a beautiful young woman." Danielle was left speechless, looking confused at Cindy, who tried to intervene. "Mum, you must be mistaken. This is Danielle. She works here at the house. You've never met her before." Annabeth seemed to return to herself, releasing the young woman and bringing her hand to her head as if trying to organise her thoughts. "Oh, I'm sorry, dear. I thought you were someone else." "Come, Mum, I think you need to rest a little," said Cindy, gently guiding her mother to the room that had been prepared. Danielle was intrigued by that reaction. Why had the lady mistaken her for someone she knew? And why did she feel a strange familiarity in that embrace? The days went by, and the household routine adapted to Annabeth's presence. There were good days when she was lucid and in good spirits, chatting animatedly with everyone. Other times, she became confused and agitated, not even recognizing her own daughter. Danielle developed a special affection for the elderly woman. On good days, they would spend hours talking in the kitchen while the young woman carried out her tasks. Annabeth would tell stories of her youth, her eyes sparkling with memories. "You know, Danielle, you remind me a lot of my little sister. The same sweet smile, the same green eyes," Annabeth would say with a dreamy look. The young woman listened, fascinated by those accounts of a distant time. She felt connected in some way to that fragile lady who faced the challenges of aging with such dignity. On a Saturday morning, about 2 months after Annabeth's arrival, the house woke up in turmoil. The elderly woman had a crisis during the night, not recognizing where she was or the people around her. The doctor had to be urgently called to medicate her and calm her down. All the employees were apprehensive. Over time, they had developed a great affection for Annabeth and suffered to see her in that state. Danielle felt a tightness in her heart, recalling once more her grandmother and how painful it was to watch someone you love gradually losing their memories and essence. In the afternoon, with Annabeth more at ease, sunbathing in the garden, Danielle went to clean her room. She was tidying the dressing table when the elderly woman suddenly entered, her face distraught. "What are you doing here? Where are my jewels?" Danielle tried to calm her. "Mrs. Annabeth, it's me, Danielle. I'm just tidying up your room as I do every day." But Annabeth seemed beside herself. "Liar! You stole my jewellery, I know it. You hid them under your blouse, didn't you?" "Ma'am, I swear I didn't take anything. Please calm down," pleaded Danielle, feeling the panic rise. "Prove it then. Take off your blouse right now," demanded the elderly woman in an authoritative tone that Danielle had never heard before. The young woman knew she wasn't obliged to do that, but she realised that Annabeth was completely unhinged by the illness. To prevent the situation from worsening, she decided to comply with the absurd request. With trembling hands, she began to unbutton her uniform blouse. Then something unexpected happened. Upon removing the garment, a delicate silver pendant was revealed, one that Danielle always wore hidden beneath her clothes. It was a simple piece of jewellery, but one of great sentimental value, a gift from her grandmother. Seeing the necklace, Annabeth turned pale. Her furious expression gave way to one of shock and disbelief. With tear-filled eyes, the elderly woman brought her hand to her own neck, from which she removed a pendant identical to Danielle's. I knew it was you, my dear Danielle," Annabeth exclaimed with a choked voice. "My little sister, after 70 years, we've finally reunited." At that moment, Cindy entered the room, alarmed by the commotion. "Mum, what's going on? I've told you this is not your sister Danielle. She's just the girl who works here at home." But Annabeth was beaming. "Look, daughter, she has the same pendant as me. Our father gave us these necklaces when we were children, and she looks so much like my sister." Danielle was stunned, trying to process what was happening. Then she remembered the stories her grandmother told about her childhood, about how she and her older sister had been separated as children when a tuberculosis epidemic hit their town. The sisters were sent to different foster homes and never reunited again. The pendant Danielle wore was precisely a gift from her grandmother, just like the name that was the same. Could it be that... "Mrs. Annabeth," said Danielle with a trembling voice, "the sister you lost, was her name also Danielle?" The elderly woman's eyes widened. Yes, my sweet Danny. Because that was my grandmother's name," the young woman replied, feeling a wave of emotion wash over her. She always spoke of an older sister she lost in childhood. A silence laden with emotion filled the room. Cindy looked in astonishment, from her mother to the young maid, beginning to understand the incredible coincidence unfolding there. Danielle felt her legs weaken. "Mrs. Annabeth, my grandmother always talked about the sister she lost in childhood." Cindy, still stunned, approached the two. "This is incredible. Mum, her grandmother might actually be your lost sister." Annabeth held Danielle's hands tightly. "My dear, could you take me to her? Could I finally see my sister again after so many years?" A sense of anticipation filled Annabeth. The possibility of reuniting with her lost sister after almost 70 years filled her heart with joy and hope. Danielle, moved, nodded with a radiant smile. "Of course, ma'am. I'm sure my grandmother will be very happy to see you again." In the following days, preparations were made for the big reunion. Cindy arranged everything so that her mother could visit her sister comfortably and safely. The news spread throughout the house, and everyone shared in the excitement. Finally, the day arrived. Danielle accompanied Annabeth to her modest house on the outskirts. As they entered, they found an elderly lady sitting on the porch, her white hair tied in a simple bun. Upon seeing her granddaughter arrive with a visitor, she slowly stood up. Her eyes met Annabeth's, and for a moment time seemed to stand still. "Annabeth, is that you?" whispered Danielle's grandmother, bringing her hand to her heart. "Danielle, my sister, is it really you?" exclaimed Annabeth, tears streaming down her face. The two sisters ran to each other, embracing with all the strength their fragile bodies could muster. They cried and laughed at the same time, allowing 7 decades of longing and untold stories to flow in that magical moment. Through the young Danielle, 2 sisters were able to reunite after almost 70 years. The family gathered to celebrate that very special event. Cindy couldn't contain her emotion upon seeing her mother so happy. "Thank you, Danielle," she said to the young maid. "You have given us a priceless gift." Annabeth seemed to have rejuvenated from the reunion. The signs of dementia became increasingly rare. It was as if a part of her that was disappearing had begun to bloom again. Lucidity returned, and with it, the vitality and enthusiasm for life. The sisters began to see each other every day, making up for lost time. They shared childhood memories, laughed about the pranks they had pulled, and told stories to the grandchildren and great-grandchildren who now united the 2 families. Danielle felt immensely happy for being the link that brought those lives together. The Almeida mansion gained a new shine with the constant presence of her grandmother and Annabeth's contagious joy. One day, while they were walking together through the blooming garden, Annabeth said to Danielle, "You have not only been a blessing to me, but to our entire family. Thanks to you, I found my sister again and rediscovered myself." Danielle smiled, gently squeezing the elderly woman's hand. "I guess destiny brought us together for a reason, Mrs. Annabeth." And so, surrounded by love and family, the 2 sisters cherished every moment life granted them. The painful past was left behind, giving way to a present filled with joy and gratitude. The story of Annabeth and Danielle reminds us that, even in the face of challenges and relentless time, love and hope can overcome any barrier. And that, sometimes, the deepest bonds are just waiting to be rediscovered. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.